Wonderful. Thank you, Darby. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. I hope that everyone's Lent is going smoothly so far. We've made it to the fourth week now, I believe. So I'm just going to offer some quick thoughts and a reflection on these verses that we just heard, but I am really looking forward to hearing what you all have to say later. So a very famous verse, this John verse, speaking about the grain of wheat falling to the ground. And, it remains only a single seed, but if it dies, it produces many seeds. There's kind of two layers to the metaphor here. The first one is that Jesus is referring to his upcoming death and how it will lead to new life for all of us, all who believe. Um, but I also think that this offers us an invitation to think about what parts of us might have to die in order to create new life. So, what I mean by that is, as queer individuals, we often have very different identities at different points in our life. When we go from one identity to the next, we are always seeking our truth, we are seeking our queer joy and happiness. But that process can be difficult. Sometimes you need to let go or let die some of the old norms, behaviors, identities, even in order to become more authentically yourself. And this progression is not linear. You might come out as one identity at, let's say, 20, and then another one at 45. And then who knows, maybe by the time you're 70, you have another alphabet, another part of the alphabet mafia, as we refer to it, another part of the LGBTQIA community to which you identify with. So to share a little bit of a personal experience about this, when I first came out, I had to shed a lot of norms and behaviors that were constricting me. So what I mean by that is I grew up in the South. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And I went to a football school for college. I went to a big school. And every single football game, all of the girls there, you would have a full face of makeup. You would be wearing your cutest outfit. You'd have to wear a different one each week. And you went to every game each week. And it was like 100 degrees, but no one could see you sweating. There was very specific norms and standards about how a girl in the South should look. And when I was coming out, I was realizing, okay, well, maybe that's kind of cute, but that's not for me. Like I can think that is cute, but that's not how I feel comfortable. Um, Another part of this too was the church had always taught me that marriage had to be between a man and a woman. And so I went through a little crisis of faith, as I think might be widely relevant in this group, where I realized, okay, well, if I don't prescribe to every single bit of Catholicism that I was taught when I was a kid, do I even need to be religious? I'm not going to get married to a man, like this, that is behind me now. So in claiming my first identity, I really had to shed a lot of these norms and beliefs. I had to let them go. I had to let them die, so to say, so that I could produce many seeds. And more recently, kind of exploring a little bit more of my gender identity, as I've come out this next time, I've realized that the thing I have to shed the most is my pride. I thought when I first came out that I didn't need religion, I didn't need spirituality, I didn't need God because God was saying I had to get married to a man, and that was not what I was interested in. In this next phase of my coming out journey, I have really realized that that is very hubristic of me to assume that my life was complete without that spirituality, without that yearning for a deeper connection with God. I came out, but there was always still something missing. And it was that I had completely rejected, a God who had loved me and cared for me and who I wanted to seek a deeper relationship with. So this process is quite painful. It's not always easy, even if you can see the end goal, to give up the things that are currently in your life. That might be a partner that you've been with for 8 years, and maybe you're realizing it's not working out because you have a different identity to claim. That's not going to be an easy breakup. Or maybe it's part of your career path. Maybe you were advocating for, I don't know why anyone on this call would be, maybe you were advocating for like anti-trans laws in like schools. If you realize that's not what you want to do, you might lose your job. Um, the Hebrews verse that is for this upcoming Sunday shows Jesus pleading with God to be spared from death. So Jesus knows that he needs to die so that we can have eternal life. But yet we see this very human emotion of fear, of nervousness, of anxiety. Even though Jesus knows the glory that will come, it is still hard to let go in the meantime. So, all of that being said, tying this back to Lent a little bit, the US Conference of Catholic Bishops note that Lent is a time to explore an inner conversion of heart as we seek to follow Christ's will more faithfully. And Darby, if you'd like to pull up the questions now, thank you. You're already on it. So for those of us that are seeking a conversion of heart this Lent, what have you been fasting from? Is it something that has helped you grow into your more authentic self, your more queer self, your more LGBTQIA plus self? And if so, is that something that needs to be let go of more permanently? And then for those of you that have not been participating in Lent, I was a little slow to the start, so I completely understand if that's you. What is currently in your life that might need to fall to the ground and die? What is something that you might need to let go of so that you can find queer joy? Um, and then this third question really stems from, my experiences realizing that I was not my complete self without my religion. And I had originally kind of, given some of it up because it didn't make sense in my head. But I've found that this kind of second phase of coming out has been even easier because I'm relying more on God. So I'm curious for the rest of you, what role does God, your spirituality, your faith play during these periods of fasting or letting go? Um, and then the last question, kind of directly related to what I was speaking about, is in what ways have you been able to seek joy after getting rid of old norms, practices, and or identities? So I'm really looking forward to hearing what